Hello, everybody. This is Daryl T. Dixon, and coming to you live today with our first ever weekly discussions with Daryl. And there's a few administration things I have to do here to make sure that I'm recording this and getting it on Facebook Live. And it looks like we've achieved both. So I just want to say welcome to the first show. Discussions. It's weekly discussions with Daryl. We'll be doing this sometimes once a week. Sometimes we'll do it every other week, as time and our schedule permits and as guests can make it. So we'll be doing this, and we'll keep you posted on it on Facebook and the other social media platforms. But without any further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend Mitch Jackson from California. Mitch is he's a trial lawyer extraordinaire. I think he was 2009 State Trial Lawyer of the Year and also Orange County Trial Lawyer of the Year. So, Mitch, say hello to Western Kentucky.
What's happening, Daryl? I want to call you Coach Daryl because we both have a mutual interest in basketball. Hey, listen, thanks for having me on the first live stream show. I love what you're doing on social. I love what you're doing on digital, and I love what you're doing in the state of Kentucky when it comes to being a consumer and helping protect people's rights. So thanks for all that you do, my friend.
Oh, listen, I'm having a blast. And Mitch, I don't know, we didn't get much of a chance to talk at the start of the show, but March certainly came in like a lion in the state of Kentucky last night with all kinds of storm damage, a few tornadoes touched down, lightning. There are displaced roofs, displaced trampolines, trash cans, structures are flattened. March is here in the state of Kentucky. And so one of the things we did this morning is we went on live and updated our viewers with a couple of little simple tips so that they could handle their storm damage claims. What would be your take on that?
Well, first of all, I think what's really exciting about social and live streaming is that when something like that happens, Daryl, you're jumping on right away. You're jumping on right away and you're providing people with answers and solutions. And I know that when natural disasters strike around the country, we love sharing with our audience different pamphlets, different brochures put out by the American Bar Association, the Trial Lawyers Associations, to help people learn how to deal with insurance companies. Daryl, you and I both know that insurance companies have end-of-year profits in mind, not the insured's best interest, right? And so I think by sharing this type of content with your audience, it's a great way to help protect them and make sure that, they don't get taken advantage of, frankly. But let me ask you a question, if you don't mind.
Right.
I mean, we can talk law all we want, but what fascinates me is I love learning more about the human side of lawyers who I know. And I know you've grown up in Western Kentucky. That's where your roots are. Tell us a little bit about Daryl growing up. What kind of kid were you? What type of environment did you grow up in? And what in the world made you want to become a lawyer?
Well, Mitch, my first love was golf. And I took a couple years stab at trying to make the mini tours and the PGA Tour and that. And I'd say by 24 years old, I was pretty much had given up on that dream and turned my attention to law school, which was always my second love. So growing up here, I went to a high school here in Paducah called Paducah Tillman High School, and then on to the University of Kentucky, which is the only college I ever applied for. And then I did my law school days down at Nova Southeastern in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Okay. And so I always tell people that those Florida law schools, they have to have students too. So I was happy to help them out. And it was 3 of the best years of my life.
Did you play golf? Did you play golf at Kentucky?
Well, I walked on. I was cut from the team several times, freshman, sophomore year. Walked on as a senior. Didn't get much, no tournament experience, but a couple of tryouts and a couple of, I got to practice with the guys a lot and really improved my game that year, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, just the fact that you're out there, there's not many of us that can say we're good enough to even walk onto a college golf team. So I tip my hat to you. The only thing I'm good at
Thank
on the golf course, Daryl, is running around the bushes looking for my golf balls. That's it. And I can drive a golf cart, but that's about it. Other than that,
you.
the only time I get out is when we're playing in, charitable fundraising events, primarily through our Rotary Club. I like getting
Yes,
out and doing
absolutely.
that. But I did not know you were a golfer. And that's one of the things I like about social and live streaming is we can learn so much more about each other than what people may know. I mean, we all know that you're a basketball coach. You love
Yes, sir.
coaching youth basketball. What got you involved with basketball and coaching?
Well, it's been 17 years ago. It was the same year I started
Yes.
practicing law, and was got a call from my third grade niece, and she asked me to come out, and they were needing coaches, and she wanted to play basketball. So my first thing to her was, hey, that would be like the blind leading the blind. And a few weeks later, we got involved in it, and just a little more involved every year. And I went from coaching I coached every grade from third grade up to varsity high school ball. A lot of those years while my niece was there at a school called Ballard Memorial. And so it was probably, so many years there. I can't even remember exactly. I think it was 12 years there.
Oh,
One
wow.
and another, yeah, and then the past 4 years I've been at St. Mary High School with the boys and Coach Greg Overstreet. So, but yeah, I always tell people I'm the worst player to ever have coached a varsity team in Western Kentucky, and because most of my counterparts were good players and record setters and all that, and I wasn't. But it doesn't mean you don't love the game. It doesn't mean you don't love the kids, and it's truly been a pleasure to serve those kids all these years and watch them grow. And we're gonna have some of them on the show here as we get going.
Oh, that's a great idea. It would be a great idea to maybe profile some of the kids that stand out in your life, stand out in your mind, and share all the good things that they're doing with your audience, with the world. Hey, Daryl, with respect to coaching, is there any particular? I coached, my kids growing up, baseball, soccer, a little bit of basketball, not too much. Is there any particular age group that you enjoyed coaching more so than the others? Because between you and me, as my son got a little bit older, it got to be more of a job than a lot of fun for dad, right? He started knowing more about the position than what I was telling him, and he didn't. What age group do you enjoy coaching out on a hardwood floor?
Man, it's hard to say because it's like, last night I was with my fourth grade niece as she wound up her upward basketball season. And it's so fun watching them get started. But then the high school, like I've done the last, probably 7, 8 years, it's so fun. The action's so fast and the crowds are big and all that. So and then, I was a middle school coach for a while, and we had some really good teams. I think we probably went like 85-14 over
Oh,
a
wow.
three. So those great teams, and at that same time, we opened a brand new gym. So that was quite the thrill as well. So I don't really know. I think probably the highlight of my coaching career was watching my niece as she played in little league and middle school and high school, and those days. And I've been coached on two teams that went to the state tournament. Those were fun. So I probably have to give the edge to high school.
To high school. And I'll
Uh-huh.
bet the high school kids are pretty darn good. I mean, Kentucky's known for basketball, right? Kind of like Kentucky, Indiana,
Yeah, oh,
not
absolutely.
and so I'm guessing you probably had some pretty good players come through your doors. You opened your law firm. I think you told me the same time you started coaching,
Yes,
17 years ago,
back in
right?
2000. Hmm.
Wow, it goes by fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I always tell people, 10 years goes, like that anymore. And it's like, you start practicing law and you think, man, I don't have enough experience. And then the next thing you know, you're 10, 12, 15 years in, and you're like, well, now I've got the experience. And I guess that's why they call it the practice of law, because
I
you're always
we're- I
practicing.
You know what? 30 years I've been doing it and I'm still practicing. But it keeps it fun and exciting too. I think if you have the right mindset and you enjoy helping people and learning new things each and every day, it makes the practice a lot of fun. And I think the clients appreciate that. What takeaways, what lessons did you learn on the hardwood floor that you've taken back into your law firm to help build your law firm, to help approach how you treat your clients, how you try your cases in court? Are there any similarities?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities because, as you know, the trial lawyer business is tough. There's a lot of a lot of competition,
Sure.
and the competitive nature of taking a case and getting it ready for trial and go in front of a jury against another. It's a one-on-one, or sometimes I guess the complex trials there can be more than just a one-on-one uh, situation. But I think one of the biggest lessons is just respecting the process, respecting your competition, respecting the people you're going against. You don't always have to be friends, but you can still be friendly. And
Mm.
I want people to think as a coach and as a lawyer, this guy's he's very respectful of us. He respects the process, respects the law, respects the game of basketball. Two of my biggest loves. So that's kind of the way I like to pattern myself. And then, you know, as long as you're there representing your client in court and representing your team and the name on the front of that jersey when you're coaching, then that's all you can really do. And that's what I would hope. And I think most coaches and lawyers would like to be known for.
I think you're right. I have friends from high school. As far as I know, I'm the only guy from my high school, guy or gal. I think there's one young lady that went on to become a lawyer. Um, and they asked me, "What's it like trying cases, Mitch?" And I tell them it's kind of like Friday night football for me. I grew up playing football, right? And you get the same butterflies when you're jogging onto the field that you get when you're walking into a courtroom to give your opening statement
Sure,
in a jury trial. And I also
sure.
found that the discipline I picked up being an athlete, preparing, practicing, learning what the opposition's going to do, it helped me get ready for my trials. I use the same approaches to get ready to do my best for my client in the courtroom. Do you find some of those approaches or similarities also applying to the practice of law?
Absolutely, because as a trial lawyer and as a basketball coach, it's all about preparation.
Mm,
You know,
that's
you
so
know,
true.
you have to prepare your side, but then you have to prepare, you know, for the other side. And one things we do in basketball, we watch film and we scout the other teams and we try to take away their best players and their best. If they want to play fast, we want to make them play slow. And in a lawsuit that goes to trial, you're trying to knock out, the first thing I do, I don't, but we try to knock out their best defenses, because I'm
Hmm.
always on the plaintiff side. I'm always on the offense. And we want to go in and take away their best defenses right, as soon as we can. And it's no different than basketball.
And you're talking about pretrial motions and things like that. There's paperwork we can
Mhm.
file to try to keep the other side from introducing a piece of evidence or maybe saying something in front of the jury that'll affect how a jury feels about our case, right? And
Yes.
I mean that's smart because the more you prepare for a basketball game and the more you learn about your opponent, those same principles apply in a courtroom. You know what I do, Daryl, and I'll bet a lot of people watching this have never thought about lawyers doing this, but before I try a case with opposing counsel, usually at the very beginning of the case, I actually research who the other lawyer is. I want to know what his or
Absolutely.
her I want to know what his or her background is because if I'm dealing with an ex high school or college athlete, I usually assume they're going to be prepared, they're going to be ready. It's just something, it's a characteristic that I've seen a lot of athletes have and a lot of coaches have.
Sure. Sure.
And I make sure I cross my T's and I dot my I's. It's interesting. So it's always good to do your homework before you walk into the courtroom, before you walk out onto the basketball court. And I think, Daryl, that's one thing that connected us is that, I got to say, with some of the things that we've been doing together, You're all about the preparation. You're all about asking good questions. And if a client comes into you, let's say a client comes into you for a serious personal injury case, you want to encourage those clients to ask you questions, right? I mean, how important is it for a client to ask the right questions, for you to know the right answers, for you to effectively represent somebody in the state of Kentucky?
Yeah, in a personal injury case, which I do most of, we have to know everything about them. We have to know about their past, their past medical, their past history. Have they had any other lawsuits? Have they been in any kind of trouble? Any criminal stuff? And then we got to know exactly what happened with them. Where did the injury occur, and what what were the specific facts, and were there any mitigating circumstances? And so it's preparing your case, it's preparing your client, it's preparing yourself, and just trying to be ready for anything that the other side may throw at you.
It's I always tell people, I heard for the first time in law school the 6 P's: prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. Okay, I just said that. But it's like I heard that, I'm like, wow, that makes sense. And that was my contracts professor telling us, like, I look at the books in the background. Your office looks beautiful, by the way. And what the contracts professor was saying in the cases and in the books to the left of the screen, those are case law books where there are cases in there, descriptions of stories that people have that have resulted in legal cases, legal decisions. And what the contracts professor was telling us is that we all have stories. And if you want to effectively tell your client's story as a lawyer, remember the 6 P's so that you're prepared to effectively tell that story. How important, Daryl, have you found storytelling to be in litigation, in mediations, in arbitration, and in trial?
Oh, I think it's everything. I think a trial is nothing more than a story. You're putting out the story for a jury to hear it, the story of what happened, detailing what your client has went through, and the injuries they've suffered, the pain and suffering, the time away from work. It's all into a big story. And the better you can tell that story, the more effectively you can represent that client.
It's almost also the ability to tell a story is important, but also empowering your audience, empowering your jury to have the courage and stand up and render the verdict and render the decision that you and your client want them to render. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's like out on the basketball court, having your team ready to play is one thing, but then there's nothing wrong with playing to win, right?
And that's exactly right. That's you want sportsmanship first, and proud to say that our team this year won the region wide. It's called the Rex Alexander Sportsmanship Award for the year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we won that, and now, Mitch, one thing I want to talk about when we're doing these live broadcasts is we're inviting questions on Facebook.
Sure.
This is my first show, so I haven't done a very good job of monitoring the Facebook at the same time because I'm on my primary computer, and I think my iPad here has frozen up. So what has happened is we're getting some questions on Facebook, and I was going to try and answer a few of those.
Sure.
What do you
Go
think?
for it. I think it's your show. You do you're the coach. You do what you want to do.
All right. Well, I'm gonna turn the spotlight on you this time and ask you, what is the best piece of advice you ever received as a young lawyer?
I think the best piece of advice I ever received was from a very prominent attorney here in Orange County, California, who when I reached out to him for advice on a decision that I needed to make, he told me, Mitch, remember that in our business, in our profession, one of the most important assets that we all have is our reputation. Make good, honest, ethical, long-term decisions. And so our reputation is everything. When we're closing a deal, opposing counsel needs to know that a shake of a hand means something. When you tell a judge and look a judge in the eye and you tell a judge something in open court, he or she knows that you're telling him or her the truth. So for me, it was all about reputation. Now, to most people, Daryl, that's a gimme, right? You want to be honest. You want to have a good reputation. I think fast forward to today with the digital platforms, what we're doing right now, if an attorney was to ask me that question, and I love mentoring young lawyers, I'll tell them, be honest, do everything you can to foster a good reputation in your community. But here's the new element that a lot of lawyers don't think about. Don't be afraid to be human. Don't be afraid to show your human side on social media and on the digital platforms. Behind that door behind me, on the other side, is a suit. It's a suit I'll put on to go to court, right? If something comes up and I'm not ready for it and I need to change, right now I'm comfortable. I'm in a sweater, a t-shirt, my jeans. This is me. I'm being human, and people connect with that. So that would be my advice too, is never be afraid to show your human side. What have you learned, Daryl, from your 17 years of practicing, with what I've just said? What would be your advice to a young lawyer just starting off?
Well, no question about it. I think the first thing you said is probably the most important, is that in everything you do, you must tell the truth. You must, one of the hardest things we have to do is tell a client that they don't have a case. When they come to us and they're entrusting us with, something that's very personal to them. And so you have to tell the truth. And sometimes, I find myself a lot of times saying, I've got to tell you something that you don't want to hear, but it's better than letting you go down this long path where there's not a lawsuit. And then the second thing and most important thing is, I think, and this is words from a trial lawyer who's kind of a mentor of mine, is he said, you got to be yourself. Whoever you are, and he wasn't just talking about me, but in general, you want to be the first Daryl Dixon or the first Mitch Jackson. You don't want to try to be a legendary trial lawyer like someone else, because who you are as a person and who you are as a lawyer that's plenty enough. And that's how you can get started. So tell the truth, be yourself. I think it goes in all walks of life. Any type of business, entrepreneurial, most of the things that you're going to be in, I think if you can do those two things, you're going to be miles ahead.
Those are such valuable points and such good advice. And it's not always easy to be yourself, right? Because you see a lawyer on TV, and it's a TV actor who's basically reciting a script. And I'll tell you right now, Daryl, I don't know about you in Kentucky, but out here in California, and I'm only 60 minutes from Hollywood, I've been around some of the best trial lawyers in the world in the real court system. I've never seen anybody as good as what you see on TV. That's just not reality. Those are actors.
Right.
And so what I learned is, like you just said, to be yourself. Once I figured out that it's okay to walk into court, be prepared, know the facts, believe in your client, speak from the heart, but be yourself. That made all the difference in the world. And it's not easy to do sometimes. I mean, It takes a little bit of courage to do that, especially when you're standing across from somebody that's more articulate than you are, or somebody that obviously has a photographic memory, which I don't have. And but what I did learn is that the jurors understand who's being honest with them, who's being real with them. And I agree with you. One of the hardest things to tell a client is they don't have a case. And the way I go about it is I let them know, listen, if I was a heart surgeon and you came into me with chest pain and you needed a serious operation, you needed a triple bypass in order to, wake up next week, you need me to tell you that. You don't want me to tell you there's nothing wrong. You don't want me to tell you it's just slight indigestion. I mean, you're asking a professional, what does he or she think? The best thing we can do is to tell you exactly what we think based upon our years of experience. But sometimes it's hard, isn't it? Because you don't want to disappoint people.
You don't. And I'm in a smaller population center than what you are in Western Kentucky. There's millions more people where you live than there are here. And so, when you're in a smaller community, you want to help, you get to know people a lot more on, I guess, probably on a personal level. Not that you don't, I'm not saying that, but it's such a small community that you want to help everybody and you just can't. And sometimes, clients, they even get mad at you if you don't, if you can't take their case, but you've got to tell them the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. And sometimes the truth is best for them, that they don't get involved or tangled up in a long drawn out lawsuit, with a case that's not going to be successful.
Well, and then they're not going to be happy with the outcome. They're not going to be happy with the years of litigation and an unfavorable result. So it's better to take care of business right off the bat and be honest with people. We had a case once, Daryl, where my partner's my wife, everyone, and we met in law school, and Lisa's the jewel of our firm, by the way. She's the secret sauce, and I really mean that. But I remember on a very serious case, she told the family that it wasn't something we could assist them with, and these are the reasons. 3 years later, that same family called us back on a completely unrelated matter, but it was a big case, and they called Lisa back because she gained their trust. They knew that she was honest with them from the start, and so they came back to us 3 years later with what turned out to be a large matter that we were able to help them with. I think a lot of this, Daryl, has nothing to do with law. It has everything to do with how we're brought up. It has everything to do with some of the things we do in our community when we're not playing lawyer. What else are we doing? You're a basketball coach. I like the Rotary Club. I'm very involved with Rotary. I was in Rotary this morning, and we had an amazing meeting. But can you tell us a little bit about where you get your passion from? What are some of the things that, when you're not coaching basketball, when you're not representing your clients in court, share some of your other passions with us. Maybe, maybe if you have an interest in serving others, what are some of the things that many people who are watching this show for the first time, who are meeting you for the first time, don't know about you?
Well, I would say, my biggest passions are obviously my job, coaching basketball. I love to play golf. I love to work out, time permitting. I love to eat healthy, do healthy meals and take healthy supplements. I like anything, I think my highest need in life, something that I have to have, is the ability to grow every day. I'm typically reading 2 or 3 books at a time. I'm watching, Facebook and podcasts, and anytime I'm at the gym, I'm not typically listening to music unless I'm going, a long distance, which is once a year when I'm trying to get ready for the St. Jude Half Marathon, which I do each year, and I raise money for them. I enjoy going to my church, Emmanuel Baptist. I was baptized back when I was 9 years old. And so I've been going there for a very long time. I've never gone to any other church. I enjoy spending time there. I'm an uncle with, I have 2 nephews and just a small army of nieces, and I love spending time with them and cutting up and going on trips, and sometimes trying to plan family gatherings for the entire family. So it's a pretty full life. About a year and a half ago, I met the best thing that's ever happened to me, my now fiance, Kayla. And she has since moved to Paducah, and we are engaged, and we'll be getting married in October.
Really? So, congratulations.
And she works at the local NBC affiliate here in Paducah. She's a producer for, it depends on which day of the week. She does different newscasts. So, and she helps me a lot with my social media, and with, as you said about your wife being your partner, she's also my partner to help me with, if it's trial strategies or dealing with people, or she's also my fitness coach. On days I don't feel like working out, she has the high energy to get me going and everything. And then the rest, I'm very close with my siblings. I have a brother and a sister. Very close with my parents. I do a lot of things with them. Going to be with them here in the next week or two. And then I have a big group of friends, pretty much spaced out all over the country, thanks to text messaging and Facebooking and stuff like that, which is still pretty close. And that's about it. I like to go out to eat. And like I said, anything that feeds the mind,
Sure.
on a daily basis that adds to health and fitness and that. And I'm also, I don't seem like it sometimes, but I'm very competitive. And it's competitive. Like, again, what I said about law and basketball, it's competitive within the rules. It's competitive within the spirit of the game. It's not a cutthroat. The things that I do anymore competitively, other than trial law, are not life and death. But sometimes they're pretty close.
What I've noticed is I've watched your intense, you've got drive, especially when it comes to learning new things. And one of the things that I've noticed that you're doing is let's just say you're developing your digital footprint on social media and live streaming more so than you have in the past. As a matter of fact, you're in that 1% now. 99.99% of the lawyers in the United States are not using digital like you are. Share with our audience that might be, they're friends of mine, they may be clients of yours or prospective clients of yours. Why are you embracing social? Why are you embracing digital? What's your play here? What are you trying to accomplish with making yourself more available on the social media platforms?
Well, Mitch, it's about getting out. It's about getting out consumer information that can add value to people's lives. Like the tips this morning for dealing with an insured adjuster during a storm damage claim. I mean, that can be a scary situation for someone who's never either had storm damage or dealt with insurance adjusters. And so we want to get out the best information. I've co-authored one book and I've written another one on what to do. It's called The 5 Mistakes that Could Wreck Your Accident Case. So it's about getting the information out to the consumers. Most of the people don't. I always say, and I hope you're here. I think we're having a few network condition problems.
No, we're good.
Hopefully they will resolve themselves.
We are
As
good
I promised you guys, this is the first edition of our show, and
we were rocking and rolling, so it's working at my end. And it may have frozen up at your end. Let me check Facebook real quick. So, Daryl, I think you may have lost a connection. I still am live on Facebook Live, and I'm chatting with Kentucky lawyer Daryl Dixon, who's a friend of mine and someone that's really doing amazing things. Just come on back in, Daryl, when you have a chance on social media. And also what I was going to ask Daryl is he's got the Daily Daryl. I think that's what he calls it. But basically what he's doing each day is, there he is, he's back.
I think we're back, Mitch.
Yeah, you're good. So Daryl, do me a favor. I noticed you're doing short 30 to 60 second daily videos. What is that about? What are you trying to convey? And where can people watch these videos? I mean, I think you're sharing them on Facebook. Are you sharing them on any other platforms also?
Yeah, we're trying to do 30 to 60 second videos every day with tips. And we don't want to just wear people out with legal tips, because then they'll stop watching and they won't want it. So we're doing life tips, health tips, wealth, happiness tips, motivational tips. Things that people can listen to. And it's not like they have to invest a lot of time. It's a 30 to 60 second clip. You can catch it on Facebook and YouTube. You can catch it on Instagram and Twitter. And it's just things that we try to do to add value to people. And we try to get them involved and get some feedback. And the feedback we've gotten has been awesome. I've got topics lined up for the next 2 months. Probably that were not my ideas, is people saying, hey, why don't you do something on the value of lifelong friendship? Can you do something on the value of balanced life? And So just things that add value to people's life. And again, before we got messed up there, we were talking about social media and being able to get the message out to so many more people.
Yeah.
I just booked my first guest. Next week I'll start doing the interviews, and it's Pastor Trad York from a local church, the Waldo Baptist Church, and he played basketball growing up. His kids played in a couple of state tournaments, and he wasn't saved until he was 23 years old, and just has a fascinating story to tell. And so maybe I can help tell those stories. I always say that I think everybody has a story to tell, and through these daily 30-second and 60-second videos, we can add value. And through these weekly shows on, like we're doing today, we can add value, and we can shine the light on a lot of other people that otherwise we couldn't.
Well, one of the things that I think you're doing so well is, as lawyers, we get exposed to a lot of different kinds of people, whether they're clients, whether it's our activity in the local community, and it's so much fun to shine a spotlight on them, and to share them with the world, because and it's just fun. So you have a weekly show now. Where can people watch the show, and have you narrowed it down to a particular time and date each week, or how are you going to go about doing all of that?
We're going to try to do each Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And
1 o'clock your time?
1 o'clock Central. Yeah. So
Central.
That's going to be 11 a.m. Pacific, and that's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern time. And like I said, we're going to profile these guests. We're looking to share, like I said, interesting people with stories to tell. We like taking the questions. That's something we're going to get better at, getting the questions off of Facebook and getting them where we can answer them in real time. And, questions for myself, questions for the guests. But it's an exciting opportunity. Couldn't be more fired up about it. And like I said, there's going to be some growing pains along the way, but we're going to stick in here and try to get this right.
Well, I think for your first show, Daryl, this has been a lot of fun. I'm just honored and privileged to be a part of it. And you are already getting things right. Okay. This has been a lot of fun. I understand. Well, I'll tell you what, if people want to connect with you, if someone's watching, and these are recorded, by the way, so people can watch these shows later, right? And if they want to connect with you, what's the best way to connect?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is daryltdixonlaw.com, and leave a message for me there, or they can the different platforms, we're on every social platform, I believe. There may be one or two we're not. Okay. But what we're going to do is through the magic of Facebook Live each week, we're going to try to do these interactive discussions with so people can see them. Then we're going to record them and put them on the other social platforms. So, and then, I think there's some technology out there where we can rip the audio from them and make some podcasts out of them. And again, we're just getting started today. We're just kicking the tires on this thing and trying to really spread the word and get information out there. And then the other thing we want people to contact us with guests, because again, we think everybody has a story to tell, and we'd like to give everybody the platform. And I'm certainly going to try to do my best interviewing them. I think I might be a little better at giving interviews than I am at doing the interviews than I am giving the interviews, so to speak.
But you remember what it was like when you took your first deposition or when you tried your first case. The more do these, remember what it was like the first time you tried to bounce a basketball?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are all things that the more you do, the better we all get at this. And sure. I'll tell you what, I'm impressed with what you're doing, Daryl. I'm impressed with the show. I've got some people who I know who I would love to have on your show. In other words, I think that you will bring out the value that they have to share with your community. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to send them your way. And hopefully if it's a good fit, you can have them on the show. And I'm honored to have been on today's initial broadcast with you, Daryl. This is good stuff. You're doing good things for the community. And I tip my hat to you, although I'm not wearing one. Thanks for all the good that you're doing in the world. Really appreciate it.
Well, Mitch, thanks for being a mentor and a friend, and it's so fun, learning, my need for growth, learning from you as a mentor, and your knowledge of trial law, and us sharing some case secrets and stuff like that. And I really wanted to honor you by bringing you on first today because our friendship means that much, and it's been a lot of fun today. It's been a little stress. It's been a little stressful on this end with the communications and trying to read the different things. But it's like you said, if somebody could have ever told me I would be able to walk into a deposition and be comfortable, I would have never believed it because those were hard days some 17 years ago. And it's just like anything, and one of the tips we put out yesterday is don't let fear run interference on your dreams. Take the step. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be, be afraid to try and fail. And so that's what we're doing, and we're putting it out there for everybody. And we certainly want to shine the light from now on other people and not myself. And again, thanks so much for coming on today, and hope to have you again soon.
You're welcome, Daryl. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. And everybody, that's going to wrap us up here for the first edition today. So I'll close with just thanking every one of you for coming on today, thanking my guest, Mitch Jackson, everybody, all the comments, even though I wasn't able to read as many of them on the air as I could. We want to invite you back most every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central here on Facebook Live. And please contact me with your idea for guests. Again, next week, very, very excited about Pastor Trad York from the Waldo Baptist Church. He's going to come on and talk a little bit about his ministry. We're going to talk a lot of basketball because it's March Madness. And hope everybody's recovering good from the storm damage. And hope everybody has a fantastic Wednesday. Go out there, in the words of Mitch Jackson, and make this day your masterpiece.
Thanks, guys.